This video contains multiple stories. Let's hear story number 1. My fiancé brought up the idea of an open relationship. I don't want that in a relationship. It seems like our relationship is nearing its conclusion. My thoughts are all over the place, and I have a lot to share. I will do my best to organize everything. I need to share a bunch of my thoughts, since I haven't had anyone to talk to about them. My fiancé and I have been together for nearly 4 years. I have a 2.5-year-old at home, and I feel fortunate that my fiancé stays at home to care for our child. At the beginning of our relationship, I was focused on starting a business and quitting my stable job, which I was able to do thanks to the love and support from my partner. I have made many sacrifices in my life to ensure the business succeeds and to be a good father. I gave up all my hobbies, mountain biking, boating, fishing, gaming, guitar, and even friends to make this happen. Our relationship has seen many highs and lows, just like most others. I have always had a hard time with anxiety and communication, and she dealt with anxiety and depression. This was the first relationship where I was truly emotionally invested, not just a casual fling. I realized I have a lot to learn about effective communication. About 3 to 4 months ago, I sent a flirty message to someone on Snapchat, and she discovered it by looking through my phone. We had a heated argument, and in the end, she threw my phone across the room, breaking it. I messed up, and I truly regret my actions. I am a loyal man and would never think about cheating. We've had multiple arguments since then about different topics, and some of those have resulted in physical abuse towards me. She hit me 5 times, and by the last time, which was 10 months ago, it really hurt. I started to see how my lack of communication is damaging our relationship. I don't excuse this behavior at all. We sat down and talked about our feelings and what happened. She had a tough childhood with physically abusive parents and family members. Even though she knows it's wrong, it's been ingrained in her. Talking things out has been beneficial, and it seems like we are moving forward. At the start of our relationship, my fiancé told me she was attracted to women too, and that it had been that way for as long as she could remember. She told me I was the first person she ever confided in about this, because her family is very religious and doesn't accept any form of homosexuality in their home. About 4 to 5 months ago, we began discussing this again, and she was eager to come out publicly. Why would I stop her from doing something she's wanted since childhood? I backed her completely, and she posted on Facebook saying she was queer. Nothing is changing, just that now you know. She told me that our relationship isn't going to change. Soon after we got intimate, she began saying things like, "I want you to act like another girl," along with a lot of dirty talk in that vein. I went along with it because it was exciting and just between us. Eventually, we discussed the idea of an open relationship. After some conversation, we agreed to try an app to find a couple in a similar situation for a swap or a threesome. I began to feel increasingly uneasy about this idea, but she looked so pleased. I figured that just because it felt uncomfortable, it didn't mean it was a bad thing, so I kept going with it. We established some ground rules. She could only engage with other females, but as we discussed it more, it evolved into a no intercourse policy with other men. I was chatting with another couple, but it quickly became obvious that they were more interested in her than in me. She began chatting with a guy and inquired about the possibility of flirting or having sex. I felt really uneasy about this, but for some reason, I just went with it. She looked really happy and excited, and I didn't want to ruin that. I checked it and read through everything. I didn't feel good at all. I felt like a loser. She referred to me as a free babysitter in her messages. Why do I keep doing this? What's wrong with me? I don't know, but I went along with it anyway. At that moment, she noticed I was becoming emotionally distressed and uncomfortable, but I couldn't bring myself to say no. She wanted to go out for drinks tonight with a guy downtown. I said no at first, but then I changed my mind. I'm not sure what made me say yes. She said she didn't want to do anything sexual and just wanted to go out and have fun. A guy lived in an apartment above a bar. They met up, and she consumed a lot of alcohol. I texted her while she was with him, and she didn't reply for nearly 2 hours. I was suddenly overwhelmed and couldn't hold back my tears. I just wanted it all to stop. I regret letting any of this happen. I texted her that I felt lonely, couldn't stop crying, and wanted her to come back home. No reply yet. After another 30 minutes, she apologized and said she was on her way home. She sent me a message saying this was too much, and I didn't reach out to her until she got home. She returned and entered our room while I was crying. I hugged her right away, and she stayed quiet. I lay on the bed while she explained that things went further than she thought. I asked how far, and she said neither of us finished. I knew I wasn't going to like what she was about to say, but I listened anyway. She told me they made out, he went down on her, and they had brief intercourse without protection, but she stopped it. I had a long argument about this. She didn't say much at all. It was mostly me crying and expressing my feelings without holding back. A few days later, we discussed it again. She said she didn't like any of it and felt taken advantage of. She said the guy got on top of her after going down on her and just entered her. She kept pushing him away, saying that she and her fiancé agreed not to have intercourse, that it was off limits. It lasted just a few seconds, and then she left immediately after. It seems like she was assaulted while intoxicated. All I can do is trust what she says. I am here for her, and we are still together. We've discussed this a lot recently, and I think things are improving and returning to normal. Recently, she mentioned the idea of having an open relationship. She said she wants to try being with other women. I think there's a lot of work needed in our relationship, and I don't feel emotionally ready for that kind of commitment. I told her I don't want an open relationship. She said she felt controlled, and that made me feel bad. I quickly replied that I can't dictate your actions, but I can express my feelings and what I want or don't want. I stayed silent when she asked if it was a deal breaker for our relationship. She finished by saying she didn't want to discuss it anymore, even though she was the one who started the conversation. I feel bad for doing this, but I checked her phone a few times, mostly looking at her Snapchats. She shares some cute and attractive pictures on her story occasionally, just her looking beautiful as always. She often receives messages from guys telling her she is attractive. She never showed any signs of seeing anyone, and I've heard her say that she's taken and not looking for anyone. I noticed the other day that she was on a best friend streak with a guy, and none of the recent conversations were saved. I can see the old conversations where she thanks him every time he comments hot or cute on her past Snap stories. I'm worried that something might be off because to keep a best friend streak, she has to be sending pictures. Why is she sending pictures to him? I haven't talked to her about this yet, but wanting an open relationship after everything that happened is making me feel uneasy. Am I losing my mind? I'm not really sure why I'm sharing this or what I'm hoping to get from it. I feel really alone and just needed to share this. Thanks for reading. That's it for story number 1. Let's hear story number 2. My fiancé wants to break up because I didn't pick him first. Today, my fiancé, Ryan, who I've been with for 7 years, told me he's unsure about our future together. I know it might sound silly, but I love him deeply, and it feels like everything is crumbling around me. I'm at a loss for what to do. This began a few days ago when we celebrated our anniversary. We invited several people, including my close friend, Ellie. She saw my fiancé being affectionate and made a dumb remark about how she said Ryan would be better for me than my ex, Andy. My fiancé was confused and asked Ellie what she meant. In college, Andy and Ryan both invited me to the same event. I had known Ryan since high school. We always had a connection, but we were never officially together. Additionally, he attended a different college that was a 30-minute drive from my location. Andy attended my college. His dorm was just a 5-minute walk from mine, and he was a completely new person to me. I started to think that my relationship with Ryan might not be thrilling enough since we already knew nearly everything about each other. Even though Ellie didn't want me to, I chose to go with Andy, especially since we were half an hour apart. I realized my reasoning might not make sense, but I never expected this choice could impact my future so much. Ryan was upset when I turned down his date request. I didn't want to make it worse by mentioning I was seeing someone else. In the end, it didn't matter much since he stopped talking to me for about 6 months. It became clear that Andy and I weren't meant to be together, so we decided to end things. When Ryan and I started talking again, I realized how much I missed him and that he was perfect for me, so I asked him out. He was really happy, and that's how we ended up here. Throughout the party, I noticed that he seemed to be in a bad mood. He kept distancing himself from my kisses and touches, replying with brief one-sentence answers. After the party, I asked him what was wrong. He just said he felt sick. For the next 2 days, he stayed cold and distant. I didn't know what was going on, so I just waited for him to feel comfortable enough to share. Today he explained why he had been acting strange. It seemed like I had kept him as a backup in case my relationship with Andy didn't work out. It felt wrong since we clearly had feelings for each other long before that. He mentioned that he should be someone's top choice. I believed this was just an insecurity we could overcome, but then he mentioned that he's unsure if he can view our relationship the same way now, so it might be better for us to break up. I told him we shouldn't go that route and suggested we try counseling or just keep things quiet for a few days while he considers what he really wants. He hasn't mentioned anything else, just that he won't go to therapy. It's clear this is bothering him a lot since he's been drinking more lately. I just don't know how to help him feel better. Our relationship has been wonderful. He's not the jealous or possessive type. While we're not perfect, I couldn't ask for a more loving, respectful, intelligent, and charming soon-to-be husband. I can't believe everything ended because of a silly mistake I made 7 years ago. I'm not sure what I need by posting here, but if anyone has advice, I would really appreciate it. TLDR, my fiancé discovered that I dated someone else in college before him. He feels like he doesn't want to be my second choice and thinks it might be better for us to part ways. Edit. I might have messed up how I said things. He doesn't mind that I was with someone else before him. He is upset that I had to choose between him and Andy, and I picked Andy. Update 1. Some people have requested an update. It's been a bit more than 2 weeks, so I'm not sure if anyone still cares. I'm feeling a bit lost about the situation. If anyone has advice or insights into what he might be thinking, I'd appreciate it. Following the events of the last post, he suggested that we postpone the wedding until we figure out our next steps. That has to mean something, doesn't it? He said put off instead of cancel, and we are figuring out what to do next. I believe that indicates he hasn't made up his mind about breaking up. Maybe he'll choose not to marry and just keep our relationship going. He hasn't given up on our relationship, but he's staying in a hotel now. I understand that some have suggested I give him space, but I've made up my mind. If there's any part of him that wants to be with me, I'm going to do everything possible to earn another chance. I've been delivering food, leaving notes at his door, and we call every day, sometimes more than once. Currently, we are both in a state of uncertainty. We often discuss how much we miss each other, the plans we made, and I remind him that he's my soulmate. No matter what happened with Andy, I believe we would have ended up together. There are times when he calls late at night, clearly upset, asking things like, "What did he have that I didn't? Did you care for him? Was he more skilled in bed? Was he more attractive than I am? Do you still believe he looks better than I do? What does more exciting mean? Do you want him to give you another chance?" He claims he wants to be with me badly, but deep down, he believes I was always his first choice while he will always be my second. It hurts him that we had feelings for each other throughout high school, but once I met Andy, everything changed. It seemed like I valued my time with Andy more than what we had. It hurts to see him trying not to cry. I want to do everything I can to save our relationship, and that means being open with him. I've asked him many times to think about going to therapy, but he won't change his mind. Some mutual friends are uncertain about his recovery, but I don't mind. He hasn't asked me to stop trying, so I won't. I really wish I could go back and change things because I care about him more than anything, even myself. It feels like I'm stuck in a strange nightmare. Less than a month ago, we were in bed arguing about who would name our kids, and now a small mistake I made 7 years ago could ruin the future I want with Ryan. Right now, I can only be present and wish for another chance, but I have no idea what he's thinking. This might not be a typical relationship issue, but if anyone has advice or reassurance that things will be okay, I would really appreciate it. Edit. He called an hour back. His friends came across a Reddit post and shared it with him. He called me, upset, asking why I would share our personal issues with strangers. He was worried about how he would face his friends and family now that they all know the only reason I'm with him is because Andy and I broke up. He saw the comments and understood it wasn't fair to keep me in the dark for so long without deciding. He thinks we should break up so I can figure out if I truly want to be with him or if he was just an easy option. I can't put my feelings into words right now. I feel so exhausted that I just want to sleep endlessly. Some of you might think he's a terrible person, but this is just a small part of our relationship and doesn't show who he really is at all. He took days to learn about my major while managing his own studies, just to help me study for exams and proofread my coursework. He used a lot of his own money to give my parents their dream vacation to Australia and made me say I paid for it because he thought they'd feel bad accepting his help. When my ex said he would leak nudes I had sent him while we were together, I was scared he would actually do it. He brought me to my favorite restaurant and told me that nothing anyone else could do or say would change his love for me. Then, he asked me to marry him so I wouldn't have to worry about him leaving. My fiancé is the best person I've ever known. It's frustrating to see the assumptions people make based on just a small part of our lives. I didn't come here to hear that he's immature or insecure or anything like that. I regret posting here, but I can only wish he sees this. To my partner, I'm not sure what to say to improve this situation, and I can't tell if healing is possible for you. I'm unsure about what to say to my mom, and I'm at a loss for words. I'm not sure what to say to my mom. Every moment we've shared, every bagel we've split, and every I love you was meant for her. It's a reminder that she is and always will be my first choice. I can't believe you want to end our time together. I realize I might have pushed you into a tough spot while you were trying to recover from my mistake. By making this post, I unintentionally added pressure for you to decide. Take your time to heal. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. If you think this is something we can't get past, I'll respect your choice, but I believe we are stronger than this. I really care about you a lot. Edit 2. I realize this is getting lengthy, but he saw my open letter and reached out to say he won't make any promises, just that he'll listen. He won't go to a therapist because he doesn't think our relationship is strong enough to fix anything at this moment. Some people here want to give him advice directly, so I've encouraged him to talk to others who have gone through this and found healing. If you've gone through something like this, feel free to request his throwaway in your reply to this post or by sending me a PM. Thanks. Update 2. Before I share the update, I want to mention that I checked with my ex-fiancé first. He said it's okay as long as I keep it vague enough to not expose us to our friends and family. I tend to rely on others' opinions for important decisions, and he understands that about me. Many things have occurred since the previous update. After we talked, he went silent for about 2 weeks to think things over. The wait felt endless, but he assured me he would reach out as soon as he had an answer. I couldn't go to his hotel to bring him food, see him, or have any contact at all. When he finally called, he made it clear right away that our relationship was done. Even though we broke up, he still wants to be with me. If I want to be with him, we can start our relationship over from scratch. While you see something wonderful when you look back at our relationship, I see it with disgust because you lied by omission every single day. At first, I was about to say yes right away, but he urged me to take a week to think about whether I truly want this. He thinks that if I decide to start our relationship over now, he will be my top pick. As the week went on, it started to become clear what this would mean. I would go from fiancé to girlfriend again. I'm not sure when he'll propose. I don't want kids until we're married, so I don't know how long that will take. Basically, it would mess up the plans we made for our lives. I requested some extra time, and he wants to avoid any future resentment, so he agreed to let me take as long as I need to decide. I didn't expect this outcome, and it might be more than I deserve. Still, I can't help but wish things could just go back to how they were. I've made up my mind to start fresh. It really hurts that the last 7 years feel meaningless now. We recently marked our 7th anniversary, but by this time next year, we'll be celebrating our 1st anniversary all over again. He broke up with me, but offered the chance to start fresh as boyfriend and girlfriend. That would fix my error and make him my top pick. After some reflection, I've come to the conclusion that I will agree. Edit. He saw the post and wanted to respond to some of the comments. If we restart our relationship, he won't use anything against me. It will be just like he mentioned, and our relationship will begin anew. He's so sure about this that he tells me to leave if he ever messes up and brings it up during our arguments. Some people argue that being first is just a random idea, but that doesn't really matter. Marriage is an idea, monogamy is an idea, and so on. Just because something is a construct doesn't mean it's not real or can't cause pain. This isn't about my past relationships before him. He doesn't care about that. He values the years we spent together, the connection we had in high school, and how he waited until college for us to be a couple. But I chose someone else I hardly knew. The length of our relationship often seems to affect his decisions. He claims it does, as it only makes things worse. I never shared what went down during those 6 months we were together. I didn't end up being the one to tell him, though. We know everything about each other, so he can only think that I intentionally kept it from him. I'm confident, strong, and logical. Our old relationship is ruined in my eyes now. It's messed up because she took away my chance to make a smart choice 7 years ago. If I had known why she came back, I would have told her to leave. I'm offering her a chance to start over in our relationship, with all the facts on the table. This time will be the same.